Risk of collision. Every vessel shall use all available means appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions to determine if risk of collision exists. If there is any doubt, such risk shall be deemed to exist. Proper use shall be made of radar equipment if fitted and operational, including long-range scanning to obtain early warning of risk of collision and radar plotting or equivalent systematic observation of detected objects. Assumptions shall not be made on the basis of scanty information, especially scanty radar information. In determining if risk of collision exists, the following considerations shall be among those taken into account. Subsection 1. Such risk shall be deemed to exist if the compass bearing of the approaching vessel does not appreciably change. Subsection 2. Such risk may sometimes exist even when an appreciable bearing change is evident, particularly when approaching a very large vessel or atoll, or when approaching a vessel at close range. Rule number 5 on lookout and Rule 7 are also closely linked. Under Rule 5, you must use all available means to collect information on the situation around you. And under Rule 7, you must use that information continuously to assess the risk of collision. To assess the risk of collision, you must continuously ask yourself, is a collision possible because of the action of any vessel in the vicinity, including your own vessel? Is a collision probable? If so, the risk of collision is already here and you need to act urgently. Look and listen as with keeping a lookout. You must use all the information and equipment available to determine the risk of collision. Use the compass to check the bearing of approaching vessel, and do this regularly. A steady bearing indicates the risk of collision, but a risk of collision may exist even with a bearing change, particularly at close range and with large vessels. Use radar. With ARPA, use relative vectors to determine the risk of collision. Is the target passing ahead or astern? Or are you going to collide? Remember, the primary information you need to answer these questions is relative information. Do not trust ARPA to give you an accurate closest point of approach. Take 0.5 nautical mile off each indication to be safe, and if the CPA is already 0.5 nautical mile, then assume a risk of collision exists. Do not just rely on a change of bearing as an indicator of clearance. as a target passing ahead or astern, or are you going to collide? Remember, the primary information you need to answer these questions is a relative information. Do not just rely on a change of bearing. Its change of bearing should accelerate significantly. If the change of bearing does not accelerate, then there is a risk of collision. Do not relax. Keep monitoring the situation until the target is passed and clear. Always assess the risk of collision.